Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we are talking about Love is Blind Season 8. We're in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities? Minneapolis, St. Paul. Ooh, nope, that went a little, we're in the wrong part of the country.
Well, here's the thing.
Minneapolis, St. Paul. Nope.
St. Paul? St. Paul. Paul. No, I don't think they're in Minneapolis, though.
They're from Minneapolis.
Yeah,
all of these people
are from Minneapolis. They fly them out to L.A. into a massive studio set because they're not moving the pods around the country. They're just flying people out from various locations,
Thank
locales.
you for explaining how reality TV production works.
There we go. I was actually thinking of a very good concept for a reality TV show as it kept coming up in conversation.
Don't give it away. I think it's a good idea. We got to pitch this to someone.
I don't have any connections to pitch that to.
Does anybody know anyone we could pitch a reality TV show to? Because it's a really good idea.
It would be like a dating type show, competition type show, similar to Love is Blind, but maybe The Circle also comes to mind if you've seen that show as well. So got an inside line. We got some ideas in the works.
I feel like every season that we watch Love is Blind, I immediately go to TikTok to see what people are thinking. And it's always, this season sucks. This season's boring. I don't know that I agree really, but do people just not like the show? Is that what you're all learning about yourselves? Maybe you just don't like Love is Blind.
Maybe you should unsubscribe from Netflix. Stop paying for this then. It's either that or it's people who don't watch Married at First Sight.
Oh, yeah. You don't even know how bad it can get.
You don't know what a bad season looks like.
Although I will say the first 6 episodes of this season felt like the beginning of Married at First Sight, because anyone who has suffered through watching the US version of Married at First Sight knows that they drag out the very beginning of the season.
Here's my problem. I hate the pods. I really hate the pods. And to do 6 episodes initially of the pods, where by episode 4, I was burned out. I was dragging. It did not need to be more than 4 episodes, especially when there are conversations that are being had that are just going in circles and repeating the same things over and over again. And I'm like, they did not know how to edit this down. That's the problem. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you got to get us to the good stuff. After the reveals, when everybody starts to get together and then they realize that they hate each other. That's what we're living for.
See, I could have done 4 episodes in the pods like this as the first drop. All of the same information that we got from these 6 episodes, you could trim that down to 4. Guarantee it.
Also, next season, I'm going to need you to cast people who look different, because the men on this season, I would not know who was who unless they were giving me their names every time they show them on the screen.
Well, and that was the problem. We tried to go into this with just the audio experience and then watch the reveals as they happened.
I forgot we did that for the first episode.
We did that for the first episode. And then after that, they stopped saying their names when they would talk. And so we had no idea who was speaking. So there was no lower third that was coming up for us because we were just listening to it. So we'll have to work on the mechanics of that, maybe covering the top 3/4 of the screen, but then that way we can still see the bottom or something. But didn't work out. We did 1 episode blind, completely blind, and then we started watching from there. Honestly, though, didn't make an impact on the guys.
No, a lot of bland people, man.
Just Play-Doh, mass-produced, mass replicas, a lot of copy and paste going on up in Minnesota.
And very white. Very, very, very white. Although we're learning there were many cast members that we did not see.
I'm surprised with how many other people that we just never saw. Because every once in a while, you do randomly, like episode 4 or 5, you're pretty far into the pods and you're invested in what storylines are happening. And then you randomly see somebody where it's like, I don't know who that person is, just sitting in one of the chairs in the kitchen.
Yeah, it's 95% of the people of color that they cast.
Oh, boy.
That feels a little problematic.
Well, we had plenty of problematic people on here, too.
Yeah, we will get to that
so
as we start to talk through them.
I don't know how that becomes a prohibitive from people being involved in the process, though, because, yeah, that didn't stop anybody else here.
What do you mean?
I think we were talking about how it's problematic that they edited out a bunch of people of color. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess
that's still a problem.
It's the same problem.
Especially when you made us watch people talk about absolutely nothing. I would have liked to have met some other people.
Yeah.
Give me someone with a personality.
Give me somebody who knows about Black Lives Matter. Who lived
we will talk about Ben.
Who lived in Minnesota.
In Minneapolis.
I can't believe it. I can't believe this.
All right.
How far do you have to stick your head in the sand? I don't know.
Do you want to start with Joey and Monica? Should we start there? Our golden retriever of the cast.
Uncle Joey?
Okay, he is Uncle Joey.
I mean, it's a bad comparison to make because that dude, not a great track record in relationships for him either.
No.
So I feel like it's a mean, cruel, maybe unfitting comparison to go into at this point because we don't know.
I just won't be surprised if we find out that he lives in his best friend's basement with his friend's brother-in-law and their entire family.
And he's helping raise the kids.
Yeah, and they had a golden retriever on that show. And he, does ventriloquy? Is that
ventriloquy?
Ventriloquism?
Ventriloquism. Sure. Ventriloquy.
I'll get there eventually.
Of the people, when we were listening to them speak, I think the closest I came to visualizing who he was as a person, it was Joey.
Yes, you thought he had like a surfer guy kind of vibe about him.
Yeah, even though he has the strongest Minnesotan accent
of everybody that's here
that you've ever heard, too, in general, but it's definitely of the cast.
I gotta tell you, when we saw him finally and the greasy hair, Joey, I'm concerned about our hygiene. We did see him flossing.
But he was flossing in the kitchen over some open mugs. A little too close to other people's food items.
I'm not going to be surprised if that ends up being an issue as we move out of the pods.
I don't know how you're going to live with Joey.
Yeah,
in the same,
gonna be rough.
The same living space.
So what did we learn about him? I kind of wrote like a little tagline for everyone. Joey, the swing dancing golden retriever is how I described him in my notes.
And that is a visualization. Yeah, if you were just going off the audio of the show, which we were for the first episode.
I mean, is swing dancing popular in the Twin Cities?
I don't think swing dancing is popular anywhere.
Middle school. Remember, did you have to learn how to swing dance in middle school?
No, I don't think so.
No, we did that at one point. We also had a square dance. That was worse. Swing dancing was a little
Well, that
funner.
was usually Sadie Hawkins, but I never went to Sadie Hawkins.
Oh, they made you square dance at that dance?
I think Sadie Hawkins was usually a square dance, and that was why I always said, I'm not going to go to that.
No, thanks. I'm going to sit this one out.
Yeah.
He's the one who said that he watched The Sound of Music 500 times, 5,000 times, a million times, infinity. That was something that he and Monica bonded over.
525,600 times? No, that's different. That's a different musical.
He basically starts talking to Monica right away, and they exclusively talk to each other.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't remember anything about them.
I don't think that we learned much about Monica.
I think did they not? They met each other. They already did a meetup in like the second episode.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in recalling that?
No,
I'm pretty sure.
They just moved along. They were like, you're good enough.
That works great for me.
I'm not sure I could describe anything about Monica other than that she also watched The Sound of Music. And was it Joey who was homeschooled and then went to public school? Because I remember I went, oh, and then you looked at me because...
Well, that felt like a Ben thing.
Oh, no, this was Joey. I don't know why that made me react in the way I did since you also were homeschooled and then went to public school. But...
Yeah, you were very judgy on a lot of people because I think there was some other lady who she had never been in a relationship. Is that Monica? No, that was Molly. Who had never had a boyfriend. Never had a boyfriend.
But she's looking for her husband.
And is looking for her husband. And Carly in the kitchen heard that and she went, ugh. And I said, you're one to talk because I'm your first boyfriend. So what are you judging?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I didn't go on reality TV looking to get married after talking to someone for 5 days.
Yeah, and then we were learning about some of the different, what was that called? Floodlighting? What was that?
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that...
that wasn't Molly.
No, not Molly. No, that was Mags. That was... Maggie?
Nope. Try again. Another
Ooh,
M.
Madison. Mads. Okay, yeah, Mads. That was Madison. And I learned that I was doing that to you when we first started dating because I didn't really want a girlfriend at the time. So I just kept trying to say things that would make you not want to be with me. Being honest about things.
Yeah, I don't remember anything that you said. So
I was trying to scare you off with all of my deep, dark inner thoughts. And here you are. You're still here.
Didn't work.
Didn't work. Didn't take.
What's my attachment style, guys? I don't know. Maybe we should look into that.
Desperation.
They are the first.
It's not. No, it's not.
I just kept moving on.
I know you didn't even want to hear it. I had to apologize, even though you didn't hear it.
I feel like Monica heard Joey say that he owns real estate and he's good with money. And, I'm not accusing her of anything, but I think that was a big plus. The thing I really want to talk about is their reveal.
Okay, the standout or squat down thing for me was that Monica kept trying to minimize her size.
She is really worried that she is going to be taller than him.
I'm not saying size. Yeah, I'm saying size of like height. There's a height difference that she's nervous about. Why she decided to wear 3-inch heels then?
No, they're not that tall.
They're not?
No.
Okay, well,
those heels are, I don't know. What do they look like?
She's a little taller.
1.5 inches? They're not that tall. She's a tall girl.
She's a tall gal, and nothing wrong with that. But then the way that she was crouching down and trying to make herself so tiny in the space, and everything was ducking down, hunching down.
She was lunging over towards him. Like she would not stand up straight.
No.
And it wasn't just like a little bit of a hunch. It was like she's fully bent over. She's hysterically laughing, acting like things are so funny. So she's just like gut laughing and she has to fall over to the side. Then she's randomly like squatting. It was hard to watch.
I don't have a lot of human interactions to compare this to. So I don't want anyone to take this the wrong way of the comparison that I'm about to provide.
Oh, God.
But
I'm worried.
When it's like there's a tiny dog and then you're introducing that tiny dog to other dogs. And the tiny dog is trying to just show how submissive it is. And just, I'm not here to cause any trouble. And I'm just here to be nice. It's great to meet everyone. And they'll just like roll over or like show their belly and like just kind of react in those ways. It was a lot of that sort of, I mean, she didn't like show her belly and, roll around.
I don't think she was signaling that she is afraid. That's what's happening.
I think she's nervous. Yeah. And it's not like the signaling of submission in the way that I think Ben is looking for. But, it's just, it seemed like she was very nervous about the height difference. And so I don't know why she went with heels then.
Well, I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters.
Wear your heels. Also, he seemed completely unfazed. She was the one making it weird.
She was a little bit taller, but not by much. It wasn't noticeable, and she wasn't like towering over him otherwise. And he didn't say a word about it. He didn't seem fazed by it at all.
I feel like she's that upset about it. They could put like a little lift in his shoe, and she could wear her heels, and it would be fine. She's acting like he is Daniel the Short King. Should we talk about Daniel?
Daniel the Short King.
He is technically, I think, the first person that we met on the show. He's 5'8". He's very upset about his height. So we have a lot of discussion about people's heights this season. I don't think that it's a big deal.
Is that the main feedback that they got from previous seasons? Is the height difference?
That's happened before.
Well, I feel like that's what's the most unfair about Love is Blind. They never have anybody who is
legitimately unattractive.
Who wouldn't... everybody looks like they could be on the cover of a magazine for something or like in an ad. They could do modeling. They could pull it off.
Yeah. Nobody's mid, really.
Nobody's mid or low. It's a lot of top tier people who are showing up to this. They just find the best of the best in whatever city they're recruiting in and then mix it in.
That's got to be the drama is what is somebody's insecurity then? And so this season, it was how tall people are.
But everybody had the same insecurity of height?
Yes, not very compelling. We need to do better, producers. Vanessa and Nick Lachey, I'm calling you out. My first note about him is that his sister is legally blind. And so he is here trying to live the experience that she has where she meets people and doesn't judge them based on their appearance. And that's like the first and last time that we ever hear about his sister, I think.
I think Taylor references his sister a couple of times, mainly when they met up. in person, I think, too.
He did say something that was a big red flag for me in the very beginning, which is that he's not too worried about looks because looks fade over time. He's here to find a partner who it's all about the personality, who they are on the inside, because that's the thing that doesn't change. People don't change as they grow older like their looks do.
Well, that's not entirely true, Daniel. And so I don't know if this is the place that you need to learn that lesson. I don't think that this is going to be a fitting space for that education to take place.
Now, if you're with somebody or you are someone who expects your partner to never be different at all in the future.
Ethan Plath.
Ethan Plath. What do you think his middle name is? Ethan Euthanasia. I can't even say it.
Ethan Euphegenia Doubtfire.
There you go.
Plath.
Yeah, growth changes people. And hopefully you want to be with somebody who's going to learn and grow and try to become a better person in different facets of their life.
That sounds like a whole lot of work. And that's not what Daniel's here for. Daniel didn't sign up for that.
It was really hard to listen to their pods for the first few episodes because Taylor lost her voice.
Yeah, she got laryngitis or something. I don't know.
All the talking the first few days.
Yeah, they were probably making her take so many COVID tests too.
He kept acting like he wasn't hearing it.
I didn't even hear a difference. It's just us talking.
Stop lying to me. That's another red flag for me. The big drama between these two is it seems like, I don't know, did Daniel know Taylor previously? Because he makes a joke in the pod about like, how is it that we haven't crossed paths before? Do you think that maybe we have at some point? Although from what I'm hearing, Minneapolis is like a small city and everybody seems to know one another. So I don't know if it's a reference to that, but it becomes increasingly suspicious as their episodes go on.
Well, I think they had a couple of serendipitous sort of moments where it was them doing the same things and having shared experiences of things that they've experienced in their life or just different things that they were talking about that came up in conversation. And I think that they both joked about that at different times about how have we not crossed paths before. And I think at some points Taylor would say, no, I don't think so. And then other points Daniel would say, no, I don't think we have. So they kind of both took turns addressing that, bringing it up, joking about it, or dismissing it. And then they had their other shared experiences of, I think it was her dad's first name, her love of Taco Bell.
I think it's her mom's middle name. They both their moms have the same middle name.
So there are some things where it's like, if you're saying that this was premeditated, that this man stalked you.
Well, let's give everybody the background on that. What we eventually find out after the reveal, which the reveal seems to go really well.
The reveal was good.
They seem to be into each other. They both seemed very happy. She was excited to be engaged. She ripped that ring out of the box and put it on her finger.
She's ready to go. Yeah.
And then we get 24 hours later and they're in some hotel somewhere and they meet up in like the breakfast room of this hotel.
Yeah. Janelle's over in the corner, bogarting the waffle iron.
They're just trying to get some privacy in this booth.
Sorry, guys, they're going to close up at 10, so I got to get my waffles. I don't know what else to tell you.
She confronts him about something that she's been thinking about all night because he looked vaguely familiar when she saw him at the reveal, which again, I don't know, he looks like 90% of the people in this cast. So maybe,
copy and paste. Yeah.
I think maybe you've just seen a lot of men that look like this on the streets of Minneapolis, but she has a theory because she had somebody attempt to follow her on Instagram a few months back. And she looked at his profile and she thought, I don't know who this is. So she didn't follow him back.
And then he subsequently unfollowed her. But she remembers looking at his profile beforehand. Oh, because that was another big comparison point for them. Their love of Christmas, a deep love of Christmas.
Can I just say, nothing about this is super unique. Most people enjoy the holiday of Christmas. A lot of people like Taco Bell.
For Taylor getting so suspicious, the level of suspicion that she is reaching about Daniel knowing that she has a deep connection with love, family, and faith.
Because it's in her IG profile.
And that she has a deep love of Christmas and that she likes Taco Bell. I don't think that that's too far of a stretch of like a guess of things that somebody would find value in.
A lot of people would say faith, family, Christmas is their favorite holiday, and that they enjoy Taco Bell.
Yes. And Taylor, if you think that's scary, you should download the information profile that you have based on your Instagram then.
Like her advertising
Yes.
info?
What's your advertising info? I think you'll be really shocked to find some of that stuff out of how much information you have out there in the world.
At this point, I think she's concerned that he has stalked her profile and that he has taken this information and utilized it in the pods. And even worse, he knew what she looked like the entire time.
I think that's where the level of betrayal comes in for her, is if that was the basis of this, then yes, that would be completely going against the entire experiment. But also, on the other hand, I'm thinking through, is that how deep this con went? Was that Daniel had his mom change her middle name to match Taylor's mom's middle name? No, I don't think that's what happened. I think there are a lot of weird similarities and a lot of serendipitous things that happened for them. But now Taylor is thinking back on that and seeing that as a bad thing. She's looking at it in a whole different lens through a new filter now. But there was some stuff where it was they both showed up to one of their dates and they had written each other a letter, completely unprompted, but they both did that. So that was just another one of those things that happened to be something that they did at the same time for each other. I don't think that was planned out. I don't think that was master manipulated.
Well, that's where I feel like even the conversations that they had, if you can't get past those really surface level aspects of your personality, like that you like Taco Bell, feeling like that was manipulated to get you to like him, they had a lot deeper conversations than that. I hope that wasn't the basis of you accepting the proposal, was that he likes Christmas and he's excited that you have a Taco Bell lip tattoo.
Look, if it's a crime to like Taco Bell, then lock me up. Okay.
I know there was something going around online about the stalking because he gifted her a Christmas stocking on one of the dates that they had.
Not a Christmas stocking, but a Christmas stocking.
Yeah, just to be clear. And it looks a lot like one that she has. It was like his stocking that he gave to her, and it had like a D on it for Daniel. And she was like, oh, that's so weird because I have this same stocking and, it has a T on it for Taylor. People went back through their Instagrams, and I guess like you can see what he gifted her in pictures from years back.
Yeah, because he probably typed in the same exact thing, same search function that she did of Christmas stocking, and then that was what came up. Custom letter.
Okay, also,
Christmas
if you're
stocking.
buying the $7 stockings from Target with a letter on the front, let's not act like that's just a pure, unbelievable. It can't be a pure coincidence that we both got one of these.
I think that's what I'm saying. In the mass-produced world that we live in, I would be shocked for two people who both enjoy Christmas to the level that these two claim to. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some crossover in their Christmas inventories.
Do we want to make predictions? I realized that we didn't make a prediction about what's going to happen with Joey and Monica.
I don't think they're going to make it.
Okay.
I think they got into it too fast. They don't know enough about each other. They're going to find something out. It's going to freak them out, and then they're going to fall apart.
I am very interested because in the preview, we saw that Joey talks about having OCD, and I want to see him talk about that more because I don't think there's a lot of representation of that on reality television. But I'm a little worried about how Monica's going to react to some things. And I don't know if she could get over the height.
Yeah, she's going to start having back problems if she's hunching over the way that she was for their entire reveal.
What about Daniel and Taylor?
Daniel and Taylor, though, I feel like this is going to be like their big, scary fight that they get over very quickly, and then they're fine.
Yeah, he did tell her because he acts like he has no idea what she's talking about when she confronts him at the hotel.
At the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, the Holiday Inn where
the breakfast room. Well, hurry, we got to check out soon.
Because her memory is that he was in front of a Christmas tree and he, I guess, was sitting down. He had his leg crossed and he was holding a glass of something to drink. And he's like, I don't remember anything like that I've ever posted, but I did post a picture in front of a fireplace.
I love Christmas. I have never taken a photo in front of a Christmas tree, though.
That seems suspicious to me.
So that was a little bit off.
Also, is it just that her what we would call eyewitness testimony is off, that she is remembered part of the photo, but her brain is filling in the rest?
Yeah, because I mean, there are little Christmas trees like on the mantle, on the fire, over the fireplace in the photo that we've seen, the alleged photo that we've seen on his profile. So it could be that she's just kind of remembering some of those smaller details. And so it's just getting distorted there. But yeah, eyewitness testimony, you can't trust it.
I don't know how they're ever going to disprove this.
I don't know how they're going to disprove it unless they go through the Instagram metadata.
I don't know why she didn't ask him to show her the phone. I would be like, show me your Instagram, pull it up. I need to look through all the pictures.
Well, and they had a conversation at one point about Instagram and their handles, and he was saying that he didn't recognize her Instagram handle, and that is something that he normally is very good at, remembering people's Instagram handles. So that was kind of a weird thing. Looking at it in hindsight, it's kind of strange.
Yeah, like why would you ask that out of nowhere?
Yeah, and then talk about how that's such a special skill that you have of just remembering people's handles specifically. So it seemed a little odd.
That is weird. You know, when we thought that TikTok was going away and I had to figure out where I was going to follow everybody, I realized I don't fucking know anybody's.
I don't know
TikTok,
how to find
their
anybody
TikTok name,
on
their
anything.
handle.
Yeah, my algorithm is what brings me everything on TikTok. So I have no idea what to do. So manually searching through and then finding people over on YouTube, that was a different form of torture to kick off 2025.
Well, you know, the more I think about it, between him bringing up the Instagram handle question, which I'm kind of confused as to why the producers let her answer that. I don't think they have access to their phones while they're filming, so it's not like he could do anything about it.
Yeah, he wasn't going to be able to. But if you had done prior research, which now that is being alleged, that could be personal identifying information.
I kind of think it happened. I'm going to say it. I kind of think it happened because that picture of him in front of the fireplace just seemed like it was similar to what she was describing. And I could see maybe he just followed a hot girl on Instagram and then she didn't accept his friend request or whatever. She didn't follow him back. And then he got weirded out and then he unfollowed her. And not that he would know that he was going to end up on the same show as her. But I think when he asked what her Instagram handle was, he confirmed to himself that he at least knew kind of who she was.
I think the other difficult part here is that she had mentioned too that they have like mutual friends on Instagram. So I think that was another connection point where it's like not too far-fetched that maybe he saw as like a recommended friend or check out this profile, like her.
She came
Instagram
across his feed somehow and he followed her.
Yeah, or vice versa or whatever. So like they could have crossed paths virtually at some point.
The only thing that I feel like would be upsetting in that case is that he probably knew what you looked like, but I don't think he knew until you had the conversation about your Instagram.
And that was late in their conversations.
From where they showed it to us, it seemed like it happened a lot later on. So he didn't know what you looked like for the majority of the conversation, if that is what happened. And how many people date someone online and then they meet them in person and they're like, ooh.
Or they look different, totally different. But
or you don't vibe in person together.
Yeah, the chemistry. And I mean, plus you're walking in and Daniel looks like kind of like a Temu JD Vance sort of. I don't know.
He looks like Boss Baby.
Oh, yeah, you're still leaning on Boss Baby.
I'm leaning into it. You know, Brittany Broski got told that she looked like Boss Baby. This man looks more like Boss Baby than she does.
You got to own it. Yeah, you got to lean into that.
Will they stay together? As long as they don't meet each other's friends and then somebody doesn't say something about Instagram, I think we're okay.
Okay. I could still see them making it through this. Yeah. I think they'll be all right. This isn't like deal breaker level for Taylor, I don't think. I think it's something she'll be able to move past.
All right, let's start talking about the messy people who were talking to more than one person in the pod. We're going to go to David, who they are calling Dave.
Maybe that's what kept messing me up, because David and Dave, it's the same person, but I had them as two different people in my mind for a little while.
One person. Dave is shallow because he works in medical aesthetics, and he has a picture of what the perfect woman looks like from working within, I guess, it's not technically plastic surgery, but it sounds like Botox and fillers and that kind of stuff.
Is that picture Jennifer Aniston?
Hey, I would trade bodies with Jennifer Aniston any day.
I think she's on both of our lists.
Yep, she is.
Yeah.
There, we have something in common there. I didn't like him right away. He thinks that women should look a certain way. He's opening up with jokes about...
I would argue jokes is a stretch. That's a stretch.
It's not a joke. No,
These aren't jokes.
He was serious about, you're 30 years old, so that means you're not attractive anymore.
Ha ha. Yeah, it was all of the veiled insults that you would have hidden as a joke. I didn't like any of it.
He also thinks very highly of himself because he's pretty sure that women have only been in relationships with him in the past because of his looks and that they don't ever get to a deeper level with him. But he's not that attractive. He's a run-of-the-mill Minnesotan man.
But he played baseball and he's good at sports.
That's all that matters, right?
That's what he has as value.
That makes him extra attractive.
That's the basis. He was popular in high school. He peaked in high school. Yeah, probably.
You peaked, Dave.
I think that's what you meant to say, Dave.
He has a sex playlist.
And there's a request to make maybe a new one. If that was your dating sex playlist, maybe could we make a new playlist for your wife specifically? But what do you think is on Dave's sex playlist?
I couldn't tell you.
Chumbawamba.
Chumbawamba.
I think Tub Thumpin' is in the rotation.
Okay, I feel like he is very into Dave Matthews, if I had to guess. I don't know if that's on the sex playlist. It's on one of the many playlists that he mentioned. That's also like a little bit of a red flag. He spent a lot of time making multiple playlists on Spotify.
Ants marching is what came to mind as soon as you said Dave Matthews, though. She wakes up in the morning. Is it a public playlist? I guess, yeah, we're going to have to do some research, a deeper dive into Dave's sex playlist to find out more.
A lot of John Mayer.
Ugh.
Your body is Wonderland.
It's one of those. It's one of those two.
I hate John Mayer so much, man. It annoys me that he's talented.
Yeah, that's always bothered me too.
A terrible person.
Inauthentic. Yeah.
Terrible towards women.
I think, that's what's messing me up is because womanizer was his whole thing. And then now people are saying, oh, that was a cover because he's gay. And
no, I think he was just a terrible person.
No, and now I'm that
found
made me
a new group of people to traumatize.
Well, so no, that's what bothers me is I would have liked him if he was just a gay guy who was good at guitar. I can get down with that. But if you're a total douche to all these women and you're known for being a womanizer and that's what your social cover is, that's not improving your strata, with me at all.
I don't know that I believe it.
I don't know.
I don't know what to think about.
Doesn't he live with Andy Cohen though?
I don't know. That was a rumor.
Okay. Yeah. Spreading rumors. Bravo drama.
I would say good for Andy, but I feel like it's not good for him.
Yeah, probably not great. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's always bothered me about John Mayer. Anyway, David bothers me too.
He instantly vibes with Molly. Molly is the one who is on the search for her first boyfriend. She went to Catholic school where she learned extensively about exorcisms. That was a big part of her backstory.
First-hand experience with exorcisms. Yeah, scary stuff.
But she's come a long way since then. Now she has an ass tattoo. She has a nipple piercing.
Just the one, from what we could tell.
Just one that we could see.
Which was blatantly obvious in a few scenes, yes.
What did you think of Molly?
I think Molly looked like that one lady from Desperate Housewives. You know which one I'm talking about?
Felicity Huffman?
Sure, yep. If that's her name, then that's her. But you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, no. You mean the one who played Bree.
The one with the hair.
With the red hair?
Yeah,
I mean, you got to give me more of a description.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's who did she look like if you're going to line them up next to people on Desperate Housewives? I think that's who I'm thinking of.
Okay. The hair didn't feel like it matched her overall aesthetic. There was something wrong here. That's not her natural color.
At one point, I think she leaned over and hugged somebody, and I was like, her back looks like it's made out of plastic. It was bothering me.
Not sure what's going on with
I don't
Molly.
know. Yeah.
She worried me at first. Well, I know you thought that she was a manic pixie dream girl.
She had sort of that vibe about her where she was maybe not manic pixie dream girl, but just quirky girl energy, where she was really trying to like find something that defined her personality.
I don't know that we ever learned much of anything about her.
But that's what's weird. So like she started off kind of off the wall like that. Maybe it was just the people that she was talking to, because then what ends up happening is then she ends up talking with Dave a bunch, where she just becomes an affirmation person. She's just constantly agreeing with everything that Dave says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was nothing. She was just trying to be really agreeable, but is that who you really are?
And not even in like a hype sort of way, like a hype woman way of like ramping that up or like encouraging or anything. It was just blindly agreeing, not questioning.
Do you have any original thoughts of your own? Do you have any questions that you'd like to ask Dave? Because he's doing a lot of the talking.
I mean, there was conversation, but then it was just, it was like...
focused a lot on the flirting.
Yeah.
Which when you never really get past the flirting...
then there's nothing of substance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else stands out that I can really recall from the conversations that took place.
He also talks to Lauren, who is a former 6th grade teacher who now sells social study curriculums. Didn't really seem like Dave's type right off the bat.
No, and I think he was aware of that too. I think he's really attracted to her maternal qualities.
He kept saying that. I think he likes she's a teacher because it means that she's good with kids. That's how he's interpreting that.
I think David's looking for a mommy.
Yeah, I think that he's got some issues that he needs to resolve in therapy, not in a marriage.
And I don't know. Yeah, this is a lot to put on somebody else.
He goes back and forth between Molly and Lauren for a very long time until... I think we might disagree on this. I think that Molly started to read into things that weren't really there.
I think Molly was quick to jump to conclusions, but I feel like David wasn't being very transparent, or he was saying things to make her feel like she was his number one, and then she was taking it that way, and then there was confusion from that.
I really dislike how on this show, everybody is focused on who is your number one, who's at the top of your list, because not everybody has a number one. This is kind of what happens when you date people, is that sometimes you go on a good date and sometimes you go on a bad date, or it just was kind of like, meh, I didn't really learn much from that. And then you meet them again the next time and you go, oh, that was a lot better. And you kind of move a little bit around on the scale as to how much you're vibing with this person or what you feel. So I think it's a little unfair when they're dating multiple people to expect someone to always have you as their number one, or to even define it that way.
Yeah, so maybe it's like referring to it as a 50-50, where it's like, hey, I have two people who are pretty much, I'm learning new things about them. I feel like that's not really what's happening, though, in a lot of these dating scenarios that are happening in the pod, because they're not learning more about them. It is, especially in like the first 2 episodes, 3 episodes even, I would argue, there's a lot of just useless fluff conversations where nothing of substance is happening. Yeah. There is nothing that's exchanged. That made me think too, if you were going to go on this show, if you were in the pods, what would some of your questions be? Because obviously we would cut right to the chase on a lot of these conversations. So I'm not one for small talk and chit chat if we're here to talk about the inner workings of relationship dynamics.
Yeah, I think I'm naturally somebody who doesn't enjoy small talk, so I probably would start asking questions that would scare people off.
I would be asking very specific things, like trying to get a read on, do you have a silverware preference at home? Like if there's
the big fork,
if there's a big fork and a small fork, which one are you taking?
You're just trying to find all the neurodivergent people.
I calls them like a season.
Finding our people. We would always be sitting on the floor of the pod. That's how I know I'm like, okay, this is a person who I could spend some time with.
Feet up on the couch, back on the floor, looking up at the ceiling.
Yes, I would be so contorted all over that couch, especially if I had to sit in there for hours like that. I couldn't take it.
I know. Some people were saying that like some of the conversations are like an hour and a half and then they're coming out of there. Oof. I don't think I'd be able to do it, guys.
No. I'd also need to stop and take a Xanax and some aspirin.
A bathroom break.
Maybe some ibuprofen, as we learned in this season.
Oh, man.
From one of our contestants. Is it contestants? I don't know if that's the right term.
Competitors.
Nobody really wins at the end of this show.
Nobody wins.
I would probably ask things like, have you been in therapy at any point in your life? And if you have not, do you have an identified piece of trauma that you think you need to work on?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people on this show.
I feel like that was an applicable question for about 80% of the people who got engaged, but that wasn't really fully addressed.
No. I really think going back to the ranking people conversation, it's about them feeling insecure because they know that you're talking to somebody else. And so they want this constant validation that they're your favorite.
Oh, man. It's Meg. That's Meg.
Yeah.
Is who I'm thinking of when it comes to the insecurity around that. Definitely.
Well, let's stick on David and Lauren and Molly, our threesome here.
Well,
Molly, I don't know. I think you guys are going to come for me. There seems to be some mixed response to what happened with her, but I feel like she knew that Dave was also talking to Lauren. And at some point in the show, she started making it very obvious when she would come back in to like where they have the group setting with all the girls. And she would make a big deal over how great her date was and how he's definitely her number one, or that she thinks that he considers her his top person and how things are really moving along and escalating. And I thought that that was shitty and like she was doing it on purpose to deter Lauren from continuing to pursue a relationship with Dave.
I don't know if it was intentional or like calculated in that way. I feel like it did have that effect where then Lauren was getting upset and Lauren was then double guessing all of the interactions that she was continuing to have with David. But the thing that bothered me the most about all of this was how much Lauren was talking to everybody else about this, but she didn't go and talk directly to, I almost called her Holly. What's her name?
Molly. She looks like she could be a Holly, though. I don't know. Like, I would be nervous to do that because, I mean, this is my own paranoia, but I would be afraid that she would go into the pod and talk to Dave and tell him that, like, I confronted her and we had, like, a bad conversation. I would be worried that someone was going to throw me under the bus and make me sound bad to someone else.
Well, I feel like that's kind of what ends up happening, but it's mostly, it's a lot of Dave that's being kind of bashed in this. But honestly, I think a lot of the confusion is sourced with Dave. Dave isn't direct on anything that he says.
No, and I want to make it clear. I don't like Dave, and I think that he is an ass. But I also don't like Molly.
Because even it comes down to where they do clear things up to an extent, where then David makes it abundantly clear to Lauren that no, he didn't feel that way. Lauren is his number one. And so he's telling her and reassuring her. And so then David ends up breaking up with Molly Hatchet,
who acts like she doesn't give a shit at all.
She is pretending like everything's fine and not having an emotional reaction at all while she's in the pod talking with David, but also because she's kind of confused too, because he is sort of saying that it's over, but he's not really outwardly saying it explicitly to Molly and making it abundantly clear here.
I mean, that seems like something that he needs to work on.
That's something, yeah, communication, direct communication, and saying what you mean and getting to the point, not beating around the bush and talking in circles, basically, and expecting her to get what you mean. And then eventually she does. And then when she asks you directly to clarify, it sounds like you're picking Lauren as your number one. Is that what you're doing? Well, yeah, I thought I made that clear. Okay, well, you didn't. So that's why you still didn't say it. You're still telling me, yeah, that is what I said. I'm saying I didn't hear that. I'm trying to confirm. And you still won't say that directly.
Yeah, I just felt like Molly convinced herself, even leading up to those like more recent conversations before they broke up. She was deluded in thinking that she was light years ahead of Lauren in this competition.
It's not a competition, but yeah.
In her mind, I believe it was a competition.
She's saying.
I didn't like that after he broke up with Molly, she went back and talked to Lauren and started kind of planting seeds of doubt in Lauren's mind about if Dave has been playing the two of them. Which again, I don't like Dave, but you are on a show where you are dating multiple people.
Well, I think that was the point that Lauren had made where she was like, am I delusional or is Molly delusional?
Molly's delusional.
But then Molly's still continuing to tell her, yeah, it even sounded like he was kind of vague about the breakup conversation too, where I needed to double check and make sure he was clear on that. So I don't think it was trying to start some shit necessarily, but I feel like it was a part of that conversation that did come up.
He eventually proposes to Lauren, and I was nervous for their reveal. Not because I think there's anything wrong with the way Lauren looks. I think that Dave is an asshole, and there is no way he's getting through this entire show without making some type of crazy offhand comment about her looks or another woman's looks.
Yeah, and that becomes abundantly clear in the preview at the end of the 6th episode when it looks like something goes down to that extent when they're on vacation here on their pre-honeymoon, whatever you want to call it.
And what did I tell you before we saw that? I said he is going to say some heinous shit to her at some point, and that's going to be...
Yeah, it's going to be one fight that they get into where he's going to say some really cruel stuff. Because I feel like he had kind of an emotional awakening as part of this experiment here that's going on. Because it's not a competition, it's an experiment. That's what they refer to it as.
Just
safely.
like Married at First Sight is an experiment.
Yeah, right. So David did some emotional introspection, not work. I wouldn't call it emotional work, but I feel like he was more in touch with his own feelings and his thought processes behind these decisions while he was here in the pods. As soon as you put this guy back out into the real world and you give him his phone back, he's going to turn right back into an asshole.
I agree. Their reveal goes well, except for the fact that they are both really nervous and sweating a lot.
They're sweating a lot. And this was the part that we noticed that the producers probably just linger in the background at these reveals and don't tell them how long the segment's going to be. They just leave them to their own devices and keep the cameras rolling.
Mm-hmm. They are all so awkward with trying to figure out, like, okay, should we sit somewhere else? Should we just talk to each other?
Do you want champagne? There's champagne over there, I think.
They have no idea what to do because nobody is giving them any cues, which seems like it's different from the rest of the show.
And that's why it's extra awkward, because it is up to everyone to decide what their interactions are going to be. And it also just seems like they're waiting for a producer to step in and say, okay, that's enough, guys, wrap it up. But that cue never comes. So they're just waiting and sweating all over each other.
I have empathy for it. Getting dressed up and sitting under those hot lights. Whenever I get into formal wear, I just start to sweat a lot.
For the guys in the suits especially too. Yeah, we're talking a couple of layers here.
Yeah.
That's what we mentioned. Most of the dresses are usually no sleeves, leaving a little room on top for some ventilation.
It's a lot of titty sweat, I can tell you that. Should we move on to, this is going to be confusing. We've got Alex and Madison, but then Madison is also talking extensively to Mason, and they sound like twins, Madison and Mason.
Oh, right. I think I do remember this one.
When we meet Alex, his backstory is that he was ugly in high school and he was bullied. And he bonds quickly with Madison over that because she says that she also was bullied. So she understands what that's like. Not so sure what to think about Alex. On the show, he came across as one of the more normal people.
Well, not normal, I wouldn't say, because I still picked up there's a lot of anxiety coming off of Alex. Alex is a nervous dude, an overthinker to a T, and I think he was really dialing in, trying to get a read on Maddie.
There are some rumors about Alex's early years, maybe his early 20s after getting out of high school, and some of his extracurricular activities with girls who were still in high school. I don't know. I'm not making allegations. I don't know anything about him. But if that is true, I think that he got a really good edit on the show.
Madison was a mystery to me because, an enigma of sorts, since there was it seemed like there was a different person depending on who she was talking to or what mood or mode she was in. It seemed like some stuff in her backstory didn't really make sense entirely. It didn't line up.
I am worried for Miss Madison because at one point she's talking about how she disassociates and she loses chunks of time, and it's not really something that you need to be concerned about. You probably won't even notice that it's happening, but it is something that, I struggle with. And given how different she was acting in the pause, depending on who she was talking to, I'm worried about this girl. I think that we need to get her into therapy ASAP.
Well, and just the different level of conversations that she would have between Alex and Mason. Because Mason, he seems like...
He has lockjaw? I'm not sure what was going on there. The side shots, the profile shots of him when he would talk, I was like, oh my God.
The fact that I was joking that he was Bam Margera at the end of the second episode, and then we do find out that he was a skater punk in high school, barely graduated from high school.
Got into cinematography.
And is like an artsy dude now. And just, those were the little things that I don't know. It's just this thing that you can pick up on, the energy, the vibe, something about that dude. Just said Bam Margera. But Madison was kind of not stringing him along, but I think she knew how to talk to Mason and keep him involved. And there were times where Alex would not take her up on conversation if she was wanting to talk about something a little spicier, something sexy. And he would say, maybe in a couple of dates. And he would set a boundary with her or have a response that was not giving into what she wanted. Then she would go talk to Mason and she would know exactly what buttons to push on that dude to get him tripping over himself, to try to talk to her, keep the conversation going, and just gush over her, basically.
Yeah, a lot of their early conversations were highly sexualized.
Very sexualized early on.
And then we have her in the pod with Alex, and they're talking about attachment styles because Alex is asking like very deep questions, trying to figure her out.
The real questions.
So her backstory, which is also quite confusing, she wants to break generational curses. She says her parents were addicted to drugs, that was obviously a very difficult childhood for her, that at some point she lived in Paris, and then for a while she lived in Jordan, and she did lots of sports in school, and she worked in the corporate world, but then she quit and now she's an artist.
And at some point she was memorizing chunks of the Bible.
Yeah, there's this, either she has lived many lives, or I'm not sure that all of these pieces really connect in the life of one person. And then seeing the different people she becomes depending on who she's talking to, like I'm very uneasy.
Yeah, like I don't want to discredit her entirely on the basis of that. I mean, she was throwing red flags for me in a bunch of different ways where I just thought the relationship dynamic between her and Mason was very much control and manipulation. Mm-hmm. And that was what I was scared about. I was scared for Mason because if they were going to end up together, she was going to eat him alive. She was going to take this dude up and down and all around.
It did seem like she kept talking to Alex and Alex kept talking to her, but you can tell that there was like a wall there that they weren't going to get beyond. He was never that comfortable with her.
I was so confused why they continued talking so much to the extent that they did for the amount of time that they did, because it seemed like Alex had nothing but apprehension for dealing with Madison. But I think that mostly just came from Alex. Just he is over analytical. He overthinks. And so maybe that was what it was. But I thought their relationship dynamic, the conversations they were having and the depth of those conversations didn't really have too much going on.
Well, what was interesting was they started out deeper.
Yes.
And they got shallower as time went on.
Yeah. It was like a reverse relationship.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that could do with a lack of trust as they got to know each other better.
Yeah. I think Alex was fearing for his own safety at that point. And I think Madison realized that normally she has people wrapped around her finger by this point. And if Alex is still kind of defending and blocking against that, then that's kind of dangerous for Madison. She doesn't know how to navigate that sort of relationship dynamic then.
The only reason that these two stop talking to one another and break up is because she and Mason break up. And then she comes to Alex and tries to vent to him about it. And Alex doesn't just say, oh, I'm sorry, that sucks, like he's an asshole, and kind of take her side. Instead, he tries to defend Mason because he likes Mason and explain, like, can you see from his perspective what that was maybe like? And that doesn't go over so well.
I mean, it was a bad take too. And it was a bad time to have that conversation in that moment.
Which is fine, but I think the breaking point for him with her was when she kept tapping her nails on her cup and on her notebook. And she's not saying anything, but she's audibly making it obvious, even though they're behind a screen and they can't see each other, that she's really fucking annoyed.
Yeah, because this was like a mashup between two different love triangles.
Yeah.
Because we had Madison, and then it was Alex and Mason were the guys. And then the other connection point is that Mason was talking to Madison and Meg. So when that drama unfolded, where Mason kind of got caught where he was overcommitting with Madison, and Madison didn't really like that. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel like a progression that she was excited about with their relationship dynamic.
Neither of them did. And then they got mad at each other for it, in the fact that they were both honest about the fact that when he said that, it didn't feel right. But it became a fight.
It became a fight, and also Madison was very quick to go talk to Meg about a lot of this stuff too, which I didn't really like that. Yeah, I didn't like that.
Also didn't love that at one point Madison came to Mason and told him, hey, I know that Meg is only talking to you at this point. She's only here for you. And I felt like she did that to scare him a little bit about that relationship with Meg, because she acted like she was just looking out for him because she thought he'd want to know that.
Yeah, to say a couple different times of, oh, I'm slipping in information, but I don't really want to talk about it. And then you go into greater detail as the conversation rolls on. You wanted to talk about it. That's why you brought it up. So those were the other kind of red flag, boundary manipulation sort of alerts that went off in my head watching Madison interact as part of the relationship aspects grew here.
I'm really relieved that she didn't get engaged.
I think that was the biggest blessing. I was kind of bummed for Mason and Meg a little bit because they were really simpatico. They were connecting on a lot of different levels, but...
Well, let's talk about them because we haven't really talked about Meg.
I mean, Meg was just... She kind of fell by the wayside there.
You think so? She got a lot of screen time.
No, I mean,
we had to listen to all her theories about life and aliens and how she has high thoughts while she's sober. And, that was Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah.
We thought that we found her early on, but this was her.
Yeah.
She's a sexy flight attendant. I don't know if that was serious. I guess she's a flight attendant. Let's see. Is that what comes up under her name when
in
we
her
look
20s?
her up? Nope. She's an oncology nurse.
I think she is now, but in her 20s, I think
she was an ASMR flight attendant.
Yeah,
basically. She describes herself. Yeah, these two really bonded over the weird things they have in common. Like they both knew a lot about movies and aliens, a lot about the aliens and pyramids and...
A lot of conspiracy theories that really
let's just say what it is.
That really brought them together. I was always just expecting Mason to talk about how he snuck down into the kitchen one night and drank a whole mess of Mountain Dew. And I feel like that's how most of his stories start for some reason.
I would have liked to have seen the two of them take it out of the pod.
It's just, it didn't play out that way because Madison, man, Mads was looking for more of a commitment from Mason. So he did verbally offer that up.
Yeah, but all he said is, I'm committed to you.
I'm committed. He didn't say
I'm going to stop talking to anybody else.
And I think that was why, but even she had a reaction to that too. She didn't like that either. So I don't know why they didn't talk about it in that moment, because that didn't feel like a full enough commitment maybe.
Well, then why did she go and talk to Meg and say, hey, want you to know that Mason made a commitment to me and then he took it back?
Right.
And I feel like that was a shitty thing to do, even though I wasn't feeling it and ultimately he wasn't feeling it. So you should probably question everything he's ever said to you in the pod.
Yeah, because then I think the thing that hurt was when it came down to that last conversation in the pods that they did end up having, was where it was like, if Mason had talked to Meg first, I feel like that would have been more beneficial. Because then if he could have picked Meg in that moment, explained things to Meg, and then picked her before he had a conversation with Mads.
I don't think he knew that Madison was going to go back and immediately go pull Meg aside and try to turn her against him.
Plus, the thing that I'm not sure about either is, how do they pick the order of what they're speaking? Did he
I
put
don't know.
Mads at the top of his list and then that's who he got paired with first? Because then if that was your goal, he came into that day very excited. He brought a cream pie surprise for her and they were going to enjoy breakfast together. And he did not hear the news that Mads was off the market. And so she got to break that news to him. And then he had to try to walk back his commitment from the conversation before, which that only gets more awkward because now you're going right into a conversation with Meg and Meg's not here for it.
So in the end, none of them get engaged.
Yeah, that was just a whole cluster fuck.
Yeah,
everything fell apart.
Despite us watching so much of them, like we could have cut an entire maybe episode and a half if we didn't spend so much time concentrating on the four of them talking in the pods.
Yeah, easily.
I want those minutes of my life back. Moving on to another person that I do not like, Ben. Sara, I very much like, and I feel bad for, and I think that she has a real, unfortunately, she has bad judge of character, and she's going to learn that out of this entire experiment.
I think she's taking a lot of what Ben is saying at face value, but then also he's not saying much because I think he knows that if he would say stuff, it would be bad. It would come across bad.
I agree. I think he's
erring
shielding on the side of saying less.
Yes. And if you're upset by weaponized incompetence, I don't think you're going to like this guy.
Yeah. Let's just put a trigger warning on Ben, because right out the gate, we learn he's a Christian who refers to gay people as that way. You know, I don't have a problem with people who are that way. Although he claims that he doesn't really follow. He's a Christian, but he's not really like a Christian, if you know what I mean.
He's doing I don't subscribe to a religion. I'm all about faith in the George Michael sort of sense of the word.
Maybe not in the George Michael sense.
Maybe not.
That is a big thing for Sara because her sister is gay and she wants to make sure that whoever she brings home, who's going to be her partner potentially for the rest of her life, is someone who her sister can be comfortable around.
This is where I can applaud Sara. She's asking the right questions. I don't think she was adamant enough about getting legitimate answers, though.
She did not clock when he said that way.
No, she's missing the kind of microaggressions that are happening in some of the terminology that's being used.
Look, even if Ben doesn't have issues with queer people, he very clearly does not have much experience interacting with LGBTQ people, doesn't know how to talk about them. And it's problematic in that way.
Well, it's just, you can make Sarah's sister uncomfortable just being around, because you're just going to say something that doesn't land
my
right.
fear.
Yeah, it's inevitable at this point, just the way that this guy's communicating. Because then, again, I will applaud Sara for asking great questions. She's asking about political stances. She's asking about socioeconomic movements.
Which some people felt like asking about politics, they didn't see why anybody would talk about that.
Yeah, because most people have figured out, most of the dudes in the pods have figured out when they tell people they're Republicans, nobody wants to fuck them anymore.
You're going to get us canceled.
So I think, well, it's the same thing of people saying they didn't want to say that they were Republican. They have to say they're libertarian.
Look, I can understand that to some of the population, that doesn't really matter, right? But there are a lot of people who feel that that is very important to them.
For Sara, it feels like this is a very important thing for her.
Right, because she's talking about what an impact different social movements have had on her life.
She's talking about Black Lives Matter. She's talking about George Floyd. She's talking about the summer of
Which,
2020.
Again, they're in Minneapolis.
Yes, this was all very close to home. This was real stuff.
This literally happened,
At home,
Minneapolis.
Yes.
And Ben is acting like he has no idea about anything that happened in politics for the last decade. He didn't vote in the last election.
Which the last election would have been 2020 at the time of this filming. So that would have been...
like a few years back.
Yeah, it would have been a few years back. But I mean, still, like to say that you didn't vote, I don't pay attention to those things. Okay, there's a lot of things that happen in the world that you need to be involved in, that you need to be aware of in some capacity. You don't need to get up and speak 5 different talking points about what's going on in the world, but there needs to be some level of social awareness of what's happening in your country, city, state, of what's going on.
It was just crazy to be like, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, I know that happened, but I'm not really like a political person. It felt to me like he didn't really want to talk about it rather than he doesn't have an opinion.
Yeah, it was dismissive.
Also, again, I don't know how you don't have an opinion about that specific situation.
So I don't know how Sara is going to get engaged to this man when this is the basis of the conversation, when it sounds like there are so many things where he is pleading ignorance on. And then he's also saying, well, I don't expect you to teach me about all of these things.
Which is also the correct answer.
Yeah, which is good. Okay, that's a good place.
But you have not tried to educate yourself about anything up until this point. You've not been motivated to do that.
You didn't go back to the pods and ask some of the guys? You didn't bring up any of those conversations to talk about it? And I mean, I get it where he's trying to say, I'm not interested in that. I don't care about that stuff. Okay, then you're basically saying that you don't care about the same things that I'm saying are really important to me that I want my partner to be involved in.
Right. No matter what you feel about it, those are her values. And he clearly has different values than her. But we're just going to steamroll right past that.
So Sara, because he's trying to just paint with a very broad brush of saying, well, no, I have values and they're good ones. Okay? Like, trust me on that. And Sarah's like, okay, I guess. So that's where I've lost a little bit of respect for Sara, to just take this dude who's saying this off the wall shit at face value.
I'm going to make a prediction because they do get engaged. I don't even remember what happened with the reveal.
They're not going to make it.
It was really like whatever. It was a little boring of a
They're not going to make it. Yeah.
No, what's going to happen is Mr. Ben is going to make some kind of unhinged comment about something that's going to make it very obvious that he does, in fact, have opinions about some of these things. And they're going to be a problem.
I don't see this working out very well for them. The sooner the better, Sara. The sooner the better.
To round things out, we have Devin, Virginia, and Britt. They're not all going to end up together. Spoiler alert. That's just, I've grouped them together.
Yeah, that's Sister Wives. That's our other podcast.
Devin is a former basketball player who is now a basketball coach. Typically, he's into other athletes, which Britt is an athlete. She's a basketball player. That's something that they bond over. She's also a basketball coach. They talk a lot about that. It's kind of like they're the same person. And things are going really well until they get a little more vulnerable, because he tells a story about becoming addicted to ibuprofen. Was that?
Ibuprofen.
He had some injury, I guess, from years of playing basketball. They couldn't figure out exactly what was going on.
He fell, he hurt his back. Yeah, there was like a lot of chronic pain issues. So he was just medicating and then eventually started abusing the medicine.
Ibuprofen.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure that I believe that it was just over-the-counter ibuprofen.
Okay, so maybe he did kind of clean it up a little bit for us.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's a half-truth. Also, if he was taking as much of that as he said he was, did you have like a liver or kidney problem?
Yeah.
Do we
gotta
have
do
ulcers in our stomach now? Like,
we got to do some blood work.
that's a lot. It was, how much did he say? Like,
He was saying 20 a day.
pills of ibuprofen a day.
20 for like a practice. So it was just like, dude, I think there's a limit on what you can put your body through when it comes to the pills that are going into your body.
That was just a crazy story. And that prompts Britt to share something more personal about herself and how she has had relationships with women that it seems like it was like fairly recently. She was in a relationship with another woman who wanted to take things further and saw them being married. And she was like, I don't know about that. Like, I have enjoyed this relationship, but I see myself married to a man.
Yeah, it was more of a, not casual, but it wasn't something that she was looking for, a marriage sort of relationship with this person.
Which makes you wonder, was it the person? I don't know. But we are here dating someone to see if this is the right person.
And what she's saying is the way she envisioned her future is marrying a man. So that was why she got involved in this process too.
That seems to make him uncomfortable.
Very quickly, he becomes uncomfortable.
He doesn't really know how to react to it. And all she wanted him to say was, I'm fine with that. I can understand that you are attracted to men and women and that you're into being in a relationship with me now. But he tells her he kind of needs time to like digest that information and think about it.
To process, yeah. I don't think he needs to be digesting anything else. His system has handled more than its share at this point. But I think for Devin, it was kind of telling for me with the questions that he would ask as part of the follow-up, because then it seemed like it was coming from a place of insecurity on his part, where almost like he would be untrusting of Britt around other people in general. Because if she's attracted to men and women, everyone's a threat.
It could be an insecurity to
and
him.
Their relationship.
Like, that wouldn't be the first time that's happened to somebody who
that's
is bi.
And that's what it felt like from the way that he was questioning and the questions that he was asking in response to what she was sharing. Because that was a big thing. And you would want some sort of reflection, support, just any sort of empathy for going through that, because she was very appreciative of him opening up and sharing such a deep, heartfelt, emotional, tumultuous sort of
life experience.
And so they were kind of bonding over that. And hers was met with resistance and questioning. And it was just a different tone in the response.
That pretty much is it for her, because the next time they see each other, she calls it quits. And she was very kind about talking Virginia up on her way out.
Yes, very much.
She tells him, like, I know you're talking to Virginia. She's amazing. You should keep talking to her.
Yeah.
I'd be very happy to see the two of you together after this.
And they left on good terms too, where this is the beginning of a friendship here then outside of the pods, perhaps. So at least it was ended on an amicable note where they were both aligned with the results of this experiment.
I got to tell you, I don't have any notes about Virginia. I know she doesn't play basketball.
She's not of the sport.
That's very different from him. She's not an athlete. That means she's not typically the type of person that he would date. So he feels like he's really branching out here. I feel like she was just like very quiet and sweet in the pods most of the time, but there wasn't really anything I can remember aside from, again, his confession about his addiction to ibuprofen.
Because that was awkward too, is that you had to sit through not the one explanation of this devastating backstory, but he had to tell Virginia the same exact story. At least they edited around it a little bit different, so it wasn't like the exact same thing, but it was pretty darn close.
I'm not sure how deep this relationship goes. Like, I'm a little worried that they're going to learn a little more about each other and realize that they're not that into each other.
I feel like this could be one of those ones, because they were talking a lot about praying with each other too. So this is one of those ones where it's like, maybe Faith can lock it in and then they're real dialed in on this.
It's so hard because Part of the problem on this show is even though they're in the pods and they can't see each other, everyone is still being an idealized version of themselves to try to impress the other person. And that usually goes downhill real fast once they move in with each other.
The act is easy. Yeah.
As Cody Brown would say.
But to keep the act going for 30 years or more is impossible, basically.
Well, we will see where these couples go from here. The next 4 episodes drop on February 21st, and we will be back recapping everything that happens in them. I'm ready for it because this is when the fights start.
That's what we want. None of this stupid meeting up and seeing each other for the first time and talking in the pods. Who cares?
No, show me people's real, true colors coming out.
Get me to the vacations where the fights happen. Get me to the parents and the family members who are exposing the real person that they didn't get to know in the pods.
Before we go, if you like what you're listening to, we also are recapping season 3 of The Traitors US.
Oh, and it's just getting good. We're getting right into the thick of it now.
That's amazing. New episodes drop every Saturday morning. And we have another podcast called Surviving Sister Wives, where we are recapping the hit TLC show, Sister Wives, which is on a mid-season break right now. But we are going back and watching some of the classic episodes. We just did the commitment ceremony.
Yeah, we had a fun little crossover with Amy and Amanda from Little Miss Recap. That was part of our rehash series that we have going on over there. So it became Little Miss Rehash for that episode. So that was great. New episodes on Surviving Sister Wives every Monday. And if you want them early and ad-free for all of our podcasts, you can sign up over at our Patreon.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.